Hi. For a long time, I've battled with depression and negative thought in my life, and it feels like a burden, and I'm now at the point where I take medication because I suspect there's a biological depression. But what I wanted to know was, where does the burden of negative thought arise? Why does that come up in the mind? What purpose does it serve?
It is so wonderful that you have asked the perfect beginning question.
Good.
We'll give you a little background. You know you're physical. That's not too hard to figure out. But most of you think in terms of being dead or alive. As you acknowledge that there is not death, that there is only life, then it is not hard to follow the thought that your inner being exists simultaneously. Very often, even after much conversation with Abraham, someone will say to us, Abraham, why have you chosen not to be physical? If you think physical experience is so wonderful, why aren't you down here having it with us? And we say, we are experiencing physicalness through you. We are your non-physical counterpart. You're getting the point? When you understand that every physical being that you see has a non-physical counterpart, then and only then can you begin to understand what emotion is. Because emotion, whether you call it positive or negative, is communication from your inner being to help you upon that path of harmony that we talked about, of freedom and growth and joy being in balance. Technically, actually, really, there are only two emotions. One feels good and one feels bad. But you call them all sorts of different things depending upon the circumstance and events. You've come to pigeonholing them or labeling them. When you are feeling a negative emotion, what it is your inner being saying to you that the current thought, word, or action is not in harmony with another intent that you have. It is simply your inner being's expression to you to let you know two things. The first thing is this is an important issue. Otherwise, you'd be feeling nothing. If someone you did not know called you on the telephone and said, hello, I'm calling to tell you I will never talk to you again, you would say, who cares? But if someone very important, then that negative feeling would be telling you that this is an important issue, you see. Secondly, it is telling you that while it is very important, you are currently focused upon the lack of what you want. You're getting the point? Every time you are feeling negative emotion, it is your inner being saying to you something very important to you, you are currently perceiving as being without. And it usually boils down to freedom or growth. But we would say for you primarily, it is your absolute quest for freedom. And you perceive yourself sometimes, often, as not being free. Now what we are wanting to tell you, and this is particularly important to you, while all beings who come forth into these physical bodies have in common the desire, the intent for freedom and growth and joy, you do not all come forth with the same degree of intensity about it. You have lived thousands of lifetimes, and through that living of life, you have come to know freedom. You have come to know the glory of growth and freedom and joy. And so as you come into an experience where you perceive yourself not to be free, it sends you crazy. You cannot bear it, you see. Even though it is not really happening, your perspective of it, the thought that you are giving toward it, is evoking a response from your inner being that says, wait, friend, you're giving thought in opposition to what you're really wanting. That is the place for you to stop and say, well, then what do I want? And as you acknowledge that what you really seek is freedom, and then you bask in that thought for a moment, acknowledging that technically, in every sense of the word, you are free. Friends, how much freer can you be? Every thought you think affects your experience. That is freedom, you see. What we are very much wanting to impart to all of you is that you could not be more free. You are so free that your thought and feeling brings into your experience. And so what you have been experiencing is some negative emotion that has come forth as communication from your inner being, telling you that you are in that moment. For the emotion always comes forth in the moment. Talk about a glorious guidance system. It lets you know moment by moment how you're doing. As you are receiving the non-physical energy of this universe, do you know you're receiving it? We do, because the doctor has not pronounced you dead. As you are receiving the non-physical energy of the universe, the way you contour it on your behalf is the way you think. As you understand your electricity and you plug your appliances in to utilize it toward the end that you seek, With this non-physical energy or current, the way you contour it toward an ending place is by contouring it with thought, you see. And so as you give thought and you think about it, you can trace it back even better than we can. If you will think about the beginning of those cycles of depression, almost always you can put your finger right upon what triggered it. But then what happens, because you did not understand what emotion was, and you did not know how to pivot off of it, the law of attraction begins to work for you, you see. The more that you feel, the more that you feel, the more that you feel, until, because you are such a great wanter, you go right to the depths of despair. Certainly it is biological, because everything about you is. And as your inner being is offering a block of thought for communication, the way the emotion works is by sending a signal that causes your body to do biological things that gives you a feeling response, you see. Your guidance system has been established by you and by your inner being as a feeling communication, because you can't talk and listen at the same time. You cannot transmit and receive a thought at the same time, but you can think or speak or do and receive a feeling at the same time to let you know the appropriateness by your standards. Not the appropriateness in terms of some great law in the sky. The appropriateness in terms of the balance of intentions that you hold, you see. As we're talking further today, you will get a very clear understanding of this process of pivoting. Good. What more?
Right here.